Hello everybody, and welcome to Sports Source, your number one source of sports. And today, we're going over my 2019 to 2020 NBA standings predictions, East and West. Now, how I'm going to do it is I'm going to do the seeding from 15 to 1. We'll start with the East and then the West. And I'm going to also project how many wins I think each team will have. And just keep in mind, these are my early predictions in August. While the season goes on, things are going to change, and it's probably not going to be exactly like I say. And leave your standings as well down in the comment section below. But before we do that, smash the like button and subscribe for more NBA news and discussions. Without further ado, let's begin the video. So, the 15th seed, I think, in the East will be the Charlotte Hornets, winning 20 games and having 62 losses. Now, this team, they lost Kemba Walker, the heart and soul of this city and this franchise, and he's gone, and they replaced him with Terry Rozier, who he could have a good season, but, I mean, for almost $20 million, I'm not sure. Obviously, he's going to get a lot of opportunity on this team, as well as Malik Monk and Miles Bridges, but I just don't see them winning any games at all. I think that on paper, they're the worst team in the NBA, and unless those guys like Malik Monk, Terry Rozier, and even Miles Bridges can break out, I still don't think that they're going to be a very good team in the East. The only way I can see this team making the playoffs in the East is if Michael Jordan goes in a time machine, comes out of retirement, and plays for the Charlotte Hornets. So, for the 14th seed in the East, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers winning 24 games and having 58 losses, and they didn't really get anybody too special. They didn't get any free agents. They did get some rookies, most notably Darius Garland with the 5th overall pick, and they didn't really get rid of anyone. There's Marquise Chris, J.R. Smith, Channing Frye, who retired, and David Nwaba, who went away, but that's not really too important for this team. They're still going to be the same as last year. They did not do very good last year, and I have them at 24 wins because Kevin Love, I think, can do good if he's playing. You know, he only played like 30-something games last year, but in those games he played, he did pretty well, but his future is uncertain because he might be traded at the deadline to a contending team, which would be smart on the Cavs' part to just fully rebuild, and they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league next season. So, for the 13th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Washington Wizards winning 28 games and having 54 losses. Now, the reason they're this low is because I just don't really believe in Bradley Beal carrying this team. They got rid of Dwight Howard. John Wall's going to be out for the whole season. Thomas Satoransky is gone. And, you know, they got Ty Bryant as their starting center, which I like Ty Bryant, but he's their second best player on the team, if we're being honest. And Bradley Beal, I don't think he could carry this team hard enough. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is going to be their starting point guard because they did sign him. And, you know, lots of people are saying that he could do really good. I don't have that much faith in Isaiah Thomas this season. That's just me. But even if Isaiah Thomas comes down balls, I still can't see this team being above 30 wins next NBA season. For the 12th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the New York Knicks going 28 and 54, the same as the Washington Wizards. Now, that's a big jump from last year because last year they were tanking. They were trying to get the first overall pick and get lots of free agents. That did not work at all, but they still got Julius Randle, who I really, really like. I think he'd be an all-star next season. You got RJ Barrett, who's a rookie, and I think that he could really ball out because he has the potential to. You got Dennis Smith Jr., who's going to be there for a full year. You got Mitchell Robinson, who I think has the potential to break out. You got Kevin Knox, who did have a rough rookie season, but I think that he could bounce back and be a good player on this team. You just got lots of guys like that. You got guys off the bench. You signed guys like Bobby Portis. You also got Marcus Morris, Reggie Bullock, and you also got Damian Dotson, Alonzo Trier. There's some good pieces here. There's not a star, and they don't really have a set identity, but I think that there's enough talent there to win 28 games next season. For the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Chicago Bulls going 33 and 49. Now, that is a jump from last year. They did not do that well last year, but this year I think that they could be slightly better. I think they could be an underdog playoff team, but they just lack the depth on the wing specifically to do anything, and they also just are too weak of a team in terms of experience. You got all these young guys like Levine and Markkanen, and basically their whole starting lineup is just these young players, and I don't think they have the experience to really carry them through a whole 82-game schedule. For the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Atlanta Hawks going 36 and 46. Now, this team, they have Trae Young, who had an amazing rookie year. Specifically towards the end, they got John Collins, who's going into his third year. He's a very underrated player. You also got guys who they just drafted, like Cameron Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, who are supposed to be really, really good. You got Kevin Huerter, who's coming back, and he's supposed to be good. They just lack the experience, and I think that this team needs a little bit more time to gel and progress, but all these players have such great potential that they could dominate the Eastern Conference sometime in the near future. I predict that the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference next season will be the Detroit Pistons, getting 38 and 44. Now, Blake Griffin, I do question his health, even though he was an All-NBA third team last year, and he's an amazing player. I just question his health to see. He did play lots of games last year. I think he played almost all games, but, you know, he's had that injury history. I don't know if he can stay healthy. If he goes down, I think this team will crumble. They got Reggie Jackson and Derrick Rose, who are a good point guard tandem, and they also got Luke Kennard, who I really like, and Andre Drummond, so the potential's there. it's just about Blake's health. If he can elevate this team to the next level, if he does stay healthy, I can see this team being a playoff team. If not, I can see them being the 9th seed next season. At the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Orlando Magic going 41-41. They're kind of a borderline team of the playoffs, but I have them making it. You know, they made the playoffs last year. They re-signed Terrence Ross, Nikola Vucevic, and they also got Al-Farouq Aminu to their team, but they also have Jonathan Isaac, who I believe could be a most improved player next year. They got Aaron Gordon. They got Markelle Fultz, who is a big wild card this season to see what opportunities they're going to give him, because DJ Augustine's the point guard right now, and Fultz can easily start over DJ Augustine if he shows promise. There's Mo Bamba, who's coming off a rough rookie season, and we're just going to see how this team does. But in the Eastern Conference, I think that they can for sure be the 8th seed in the playoffs. For the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Miami Heat winning 43-39. Now, they did add Jimmy Butler, who is an all-star forward, or he can play shooting guard, small forward. He's an all-star, and he's a great two-way player, one of the best two-way players in the game. They got some good supporting cast around them. I actually really like this Miami Heat team. You got Goran Dragic, Justice Winslow, you got Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Herro, who killed in the Summer League. I think that this team just needs a little bit more time to develop, and they do lack that second star, but I think that this supporting cast is going to be very good, but I don't think that they're going to push this team over the edge, and I don't think that Jimmy Butler is going to push this team over the edge past some of these teams higher up in the Eastern Conference. For the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, I predict the Toronto Raptors will be there with a record of 44-38. Now, they did lose Kawhi Leonard to the Los Angeles Clippers, which was a big blow after winning the NBA championship, but I think that this supporting cast is pretty good. You got Kyle Lowry, you got also Danny Green left too, which kind of sucks, but they got some good guys like OG, who should have a good comeback season. You got Richard Jefferson, who you signed. You got Pascal Siakam, who is a young star, and he played really, really good, most improved player. You got Gasol and Ibaka, Fred VanVleet. There's a good team there, and I think that they have great chemistry, and they fit all well together. The thing is, they kind of lack that star, like Siakam isn't a star yet, and B, I think that guys like Gasol and Ibaka and Lowry are aging. I think that this season we might start to see that a little bit more. So the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Boston Celtics going 47-35. Now this team, you got Jason Tatum, who I think is going to have a breakout season, average 20 plus points, because we've seen that from him, and I think that swapping out Kemba Walker for Kyrie Irving was just genius, and I think that that's going to be really good. I think he's going to embrace Boston. Boston's going to embrace him. I think it'll just be a good move overall. They got Enes Kanter for their starting center, which they lost Horford, but I think was a bigger blow than losing Kyrie Irving. And you also lost Marcus Morris, which is tough, but you got guys like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart still on the team. And the big problem I see for this team is the lack of depth. Lots of their depth is young, and I don't know if they're going to be able to perform right away. And most certainly big men depth, because Enes Kanter, I don't think could be a good defender. He's one of the worst defending centers in the NBA, first of all. Second of all, I don't think he could be a decent enough defender for over the course of a full season, because we've seen him in Portland not do that bad defensively in the playoffs, but I don't think Taco's going to get enough minutes because his usage rate, you want to keep that a little bit lower. And as Kanter, I don't think he can play defense for a full 82 game schedule, and I just think that there's better teams in the East, to be honest. For the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Brooklyn Nets going 49-33. This team had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Now, obviously, Kevin Durant will be injured for the first season of his deal, but they got DeAndre Jordan, Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie. They got Joe Harris, Taurean Prince. I think that also Karis LeVert's going to have a really good season and be a good breakout star that we've seen at the first start of the season before he got injured. But the main thing is they got Kyrie Irving, and I think that Kyrie Irving is going to prove the doubters wrong in Boston, and he's not really going to play a system in Brooklyn. I think he's going to go more of the James Harden style. He's going to play that ISO ball that we thought he was going to play once he left the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is finally his team. In Boston, when he got traded there, people thought that was his team, but no, Brooklyn is going to be his team. I could see him being an underdog MVP candidate, and I could just see him balling out and carrying this team to the 4th seed. For the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Indiana Pacers going 50-32. Now, I made a whole video talking about this team, so you can see that in my recent videos. But to summarize that, basically, they won the high 40s in wins last year without Victor Oladipo for a lot of it. This team, they had a good offseason. They got Malcolm Brogdon, who I think could be really good. They are just a good team overall. I think that they're going to be a good defensive team. I think that they're going to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference next season. For the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Philadelphia 76ers going 53-29. This team, they got Ben Simmons as their starting point guard, who obviously needs to have a jump shot, but he's still an all-star in the East without it. So I think that he's he's good enough. They got Josh Richardson, who I really was a big fan of in Miami, so hopefully he can break out in the Philadelphia 76ers rotation. You also got Tobias Harris, who's gonna have to be that closer. He was the first scoring option on the Clippers when they were doing really good, so I think that he can be a good closer for them. You got Al Horford and Embiid. I really like the signing for Al Horford, not the money, but just for the fact that he's a really good defender, and when Embiid's getting tired, because he does suffer from a lot of fatigue, you got Horford, who could slide at that center position like he usually does. I think that Embiid is going to be pretty injury prone. This team is just so lengthy. I don't know how teams are going to score on them. And, the one weakness, or one of the biggest weaknesses that they have, is their bench. They literally have no bench, so we're going to have to see how they assess that next season. But I think that they could be the second seed, and they could be an underdog team to kind of the East next season. Now, I predict that the first seed in the Eastern Conference next season will be the Milwaukee Bucks, who were the first seed last year, and I predict them to go 56-26. This team, they lost Malcolm Brogdon, which is a huge blow to this team, and you could say that they overpaid guys like Middleton and Bledsoe and Brook Lopez to be on this team, but I still really like the fit of those four guys. They got Wesley Matthews as a shooter, they got Kyle Korver as a shooter. The reason that they're going to be so high is because Giannis is one of the best players in the NBA, and he doesn't like to rest. Also, there were some videos of Korver teaching Giannis how to shoot a bit, so you like to see that. Giannis says he's only at 60%. He's going to ball out next season. I can see him winning even more games, but just the loss of Brogdon overall, I think, is really going to hurt this team in the long run. I still think that they're going to be the favorites to come out of the East, but, it wouldn't be completely surprising if it was a different team. Moving on to the West, at the 15th seed, I have the Memphis Grizzlies going 25-57. Now, this team, they have Ja Morant, a very good young player who I think is going to lead this team. They got Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, Josh Jackson, all these good young players. They also brought back Jonas Valanciunas, but this team just lacks the star power that they need in the West. The West is so stacked, and the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be at the bottom of the West this season, which might be good for them because they could get another top pick to pair with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant for the future. At the 14th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Phoenix Suns going 29-53. This team has been garbage ever since they got Devin Booker. They have not built a very good team around him, and this season I think is going to be no different. They got DeAndre Ayton, who is a first overall pick. He needs more touches, and I hope that he can get that this season. They got Ricky Rubio, who's going to be a good starting PG for them. They also traded Josh Jackson away. They drafted Cameron Johnson, which was a weird draft selection. They got Dario Saric. They just didn't really do much. They cleared that cap. I really want them to go after D'Lo or Julius Randle, but they just didn't, and this team looks like that they're not going to be that good next season. I hope that Booker can break out, or not break out, he's already broken out. I hope that Devin Booker can just continue to improve, and even if he does improve, though, there's no way he's carrying this sorry team into the playoffs. At the 13th seed, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder going 32-50. Now, this team is very hard to predict because, this team is completely different. They had Russell Westbrook, Paul George last year, and they looked like they were going to be contending for the championship for a while, but they just didn't. They were disappointing, and as you all know, Westbrook's in Houston, and Paul George is on the Clippers. They did get Danilo Gallinari and Shea back, which are two pieces that I really like. They also have Steven Adams, who's a really good player, but I just don't think... They also got Chris Paul, but the big question is if Chris Paul is going to stay there for the whole season. He might stay there until December and leave, and we don't know if they're actually going to full-on take, but I think that this team, there's lots of talent on this team, but I just don't think that there's enough talent to go around, and I just don't think that this team is built very well because they've kind of been building on the fly, and I don't think that this team has enough talent to make it to the playoffs, and it's kind of sad after, this era has ended for the Oklahoma City Thunder. For the 12th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Dallas Mavericks going 36-46. Now, the NBA over and under site, they have them at 41 wins. I think that's ludicrous. They're not winning 41 games. I think that Kristaps Porzingis will have a slow start to the season because he hasn't played basketball in a year and a half. You got Luka Doncic, who I think will have a really good second season, but we have seen sophomore slumps before. We're going to have to see how that goes, and I just really don't like their depth. They do have DeLon Wright and Seth Curry, who are decent. They got Boban, who's decent. They still got Tim Hardaway, who's decent. They're just all decent. But I think that the big factor of how good they are is Kristaps Porzingis. If Kristaps Porzingis does really good and he plays like right where he left off at a consistent rate, I think that this team could potentially be a playoff team. If he starts out slow and starts to get injured like I think he will, then I could see this team winning 36 games next season. For the 11th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves going 38-44. Now, I can see Cat having a really good year because this has been the year where all of the focus is on him. No one's focusing on Wiggins or Butler. All the focus is on him, and I think that he's going to break out this season and just go monster mode. But for the rest of the team, it's not looking so good. They have guys like Noah Vonleh and Jordan Bell, who are going to be the power forwards, and they're kind of fringe starters. You also got Gorgie Zhang, who's a decent backup center. You got Andrew Wiggins, who has been very disappointing so far, but this is last year that I think he could break out. I also made a video on that. He's going to be playing some point guard this season. You got Jeff Teague, you got Josh Okogie, who I really like. You got Rocco, one of the best defenders in the NBA. Then you got the guy, Jarrett Culver, who they drafted with the 6th overall pick, who I think can play really good. But yeah, this team, it's a decent team around Cap. There's not really a second guy for him. And I just think that this team isn't strong enough for them to go anywhere, especially in the stacked Western Conference. For the 10th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Sacramento Kings going 38-44, just like the Minnesota Timberwolves. This team shocked the world last year when they almost made the playoffs and were the 9th seed. De'Aaron Fox broke out, Buddy Hield broke out, everyone broke out. But I think that this team actually got one of the few teams that this offseason got worse. They got rid of Willie Cauley-Stein, who went somewhere else, but they did get guys like Dwayne Dedman and Rashawn Holmes, but they still have Harry Giles and Marvin Bagley. I just think there's just too many bigs on this team, and they got Corey Joseph, which was kind of a weird signing, but they still have guys, they still have the main boys, they still have Hield, Fox, and Bagley, but this team did not get better last season, and I don't think that they're going to be able to compete that well in the stacked Western Conference. I do think that they'll be close to a playoff spot, but just not quite there yet. For the 8th seed in the Western Conference next season, I have the San Antonio Spurs. Now, they always find a way to make the playoffs, and I think that this year is a year where they can be dethroned, but I still have them making the playoffs because you can't doubt Pop, you can't doubt the Spurs. And this team is basically the same as last year, except they got DeMarre Carroll, and they also brought back, or he didn't bring back, but he's not injured this season, DeJounte Murray, who I think is going to have an amazing season, great defensively. I think he can win Most Improved Player. He's an amazing player. I think he can just step in and be very good. You already got Derek White, you already got DeMar DeRozan, you already got LaMarcus Aldridge. This team is pretty good. I think they're going to expand on what they did last year, and I think that they're going to be playing pretty decent. This West is pretty tough, but I think that they can sneak a couple games and sneak into that playoffs as an 8th seed. For the 7th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Golden State Warriors going 46-36. Now, it's pretty crazy to think that the Warriors are only going to be the 7th seed, and they're only going to win 46 games, but that just shows you how stacked the West is, and Klay Thompson's also out for all of next season, or not all, yeah, basically all of next season until the playoffs. You also got Kevin Durant, who just left. You still got guys like Draymond Green, Boogie's gone. They still have Kevon Looney. They have Willie Cauley-Stein, which was a really good acquisition. And, you know, their bench is terrible, but they have Curry, who I think is absolutely going to go off next year. I don't think he's going to carry this team to a higher seeding because the West is so stacked. But you also got D'Angelo Russell on this team, who I think is going to play amazing too. So that backcourt could really carry this team. And you also got, you still got Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, all these guys. But I think that you're lacking the depth that you lost from last year, and I don't think that this team is contending in the West next season. For the 6th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Portland Trailblazers going 48-34. Now, this team, they made it to the Western Conference Finals last year, where they got swept by the Golden State Warriors, but that's not the point. The point is, they have Lillard, they have CJ McCollum, one of the best backcourts in the NBA, and they're still going to go off. Lillard can be a sneaky MVP candidate, and CJ just got that big payday. I think he's going to go crazy next season. You also got guys like Hassan Whiteside, who's going to prove himself after Nurkic went with an injury, and you got some young guys who I'm really excited for, like Zach Collins and Anfernee Simmons. So we're going to have to see what they do there. This team is very solid. You can never count out the Portland Trailblazers because Lillard and McCollum always find a way to make it to a high seeding, even when the Western Conference is very, very stacked. For the 5th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Houston Rockets winning 50 games and losing 32. Now, the Houston Rockets are a very, very interesting team because they have Westbrook and Harden. We're going to see how that goes. I think they're going to do so that they're going to alternate. So, you know, maybe one game, it's going to be Westbrook by himself. The other game is going to be Harden by himself. And then one game will be two of them together. You know, they're going to flip-flop like that. That's what the owner said. The reason they're so low is, I don't know. There's 5 teams that could honestly, this order can be interchangeable. This order is really going to be, it's going to be awesome to see what happens in the West because one game makes a big difference. And obviously, they got one of the best point guards in the league, one of the best shooting guards in the league. They got Clint Capella, who's pretty good, PJ Tucker, who I really like. They have Mike D'Antoni. I think that Westbrook isn't going to be as much of a ball hog. He's not going to be as much as a hinder as everyone thinks. But I just don't think that this team is strong enough and that they're going to compose themselves enough to beat these top teams in the regular season. I could be wrong. This is very hard to predict, but the Houston Rockets are the odd man out, and I have them as the 5th seed, which is still pretty good. But once you see the teams ahead of them, you're going to understand why they're this low. At the 4th seed in the Western Conference, I have the Los Angeles Lakers, my favorite team, going 51-31. Now, this team is very, very odd. They have LeBron James, who we don't know how much he's going to play next year. We don't know how much of an impact he's going to have next year. You got Anthony Davis, who it depends on LeBron, how he could honestly average 30 and just be a defensive player of the year if he really wanted to. He could just beast and be an MVP candidate, but we're going to have to see how that plays out. You got Kuzma, who needs to be a 17+ per game scorer if this team wants to be very good, and he needs to be that third scoring option. You got got Boogie, who, you know, he's been getting slimmer, so we're gonna have to see how he does. And there's just a lot of questions for this team. There's still, I could go down the list of questions for this team. There's a lot of questions, but you can't deny that there's so much talent on this team that they're gonna find a way to win more than 50 games. The reason they're this low is because just the fit and the chemistry and the way their team is built, it's going to be a little bit weird to see. It's going to be fun to see. The NBA is going to be so much fun, and this team, I think everyone should highlight as a team to watch next season, unless you're a LeBron hater. At the number 3 seed in the West, I have the Utah Jazz going 52-30. Now, that's not too ridiculous because they won 50 games last year, and they added Mike Conley. They added this amazing bench depth. They got Bogdan Bogdanovic. This team is looking very, very nice. And lots of people are underrating this team, and I think Donovan Mitchell will go out and do really good. I think Gobert's going to do what he's always been doing. I think Mike Conley's going to play really good as that third player, and their bench is just terrific. I think that, and they also have good coaching. I made a video about them. It was my highest viewed video, so thank you guys for that. But yeah, the Utah Jazz are just a very amazing team, in my opinion. I think that they're going to be a 3rd seed over the Lakers and over the Houston Rockets. Not because, well, they lack the star power that the Lakers and Rockets do, but I think that the energy and just the overall chemistry is going to be there, and I think that the play style just fits together so well, and I think that they're going to be the 3rd seed in the West next season. So coming in at the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, I have the Denver Nuggets going 53-29. Now, the reason for this is because they won 54 games last year, and the team really hasn't changed that much. Michael Porter Jr.'s kind of come back. He was supposed to be the 1st overall pick before he got injured, and he has the potential to be there. That's that main scorer, one of the best scorers in the league. I don't know if he's going to do it just yet, but I feel like he's going to show flashes of it this season. I think that they also got Jeremy Grant, who's going to be good for them, and this team really hasn't changed that much. If anything, these guys from last season are going to get better. Nikola Jokic is young. He's going to get better. Jamal Murray, he's going to get better. Maybe a 20-point-per-game scorer. You know, you got Gary Harris, who's still young. He might get better. This team just has so much talent off the bench as well. I can see this team winning 53 games and being the 2nd seed in the Western Conference Finals next season. And also, I just think that, you know, lots of teams are doubting them, and it's kind of weird how they're underdogs when they were the 2nd seed last year, and I predict them to be the 2nd seed this year yet again. So for the 1st seed in the Western Conference, and the team I think is going to be the best team in the NBA next season, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, they added Paul George, a top 10 player in the NBA. They added Kawhi Leonard, who I think is the best player in the NBA. Both these guys are amazing two-way players, probably the best two-way players in the league. They got Montrezl Harrell, who's a perfect small ball center. They got Ivica Zubac. They got Landry Shamet. They got Patrick Beverley. They got Lou Will, who could play the 1 or the 2, and he could just be an amazing 6-man third option. He could just be amazing 20-point-per-game scorer. This team is amazing defensively. Doc Rivers is going to be a really good coach. This team has the it factor. I think that they're going to just crown themselves as champions. The only problem with this team is that Paul George and Kawhi will probably be resting lots this season. But even when they rest, we've seen this team put up 2 games against the Warriors when they were out. We've also seen this team struggle through adversity and through the haters. And I just think that this team is very good. And, you know, even if Kawhi and Paul George are out, at least if one of them is good for the whole season, or if both of them split time, I think that this team is the best team in the NBA. But what did you think of this video? I know it's a long one, and it's going to take a long time to edit, but that's okay. If you made it to the end of the video, then you have to subscribe, you have to like, and you have to comment down below your own standings and your own opinions. Please be constructive and nice, don't be mean. But that's all for me now. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and goodbye.